Hey everyone, it's Todd from Zephyr Epic here, and I'm super excited to bring you our 2023-24 Upper Deck Extended Series Young Guns review. This is our video where we go over everything you need to know about the Young Guns in 2023-24 Extended Series, including what we think that they will net out as using a letter grade system. We've kept this the same for Series 1 and Series 2, so if you want to go back and watch those videos, feel free to do so. But the letter grade guide is kind of as follows on screen. Just a couple general notes is that defensemen will generally grade lower than forwards, even though they could be more impactful in terms of their career, just because at the end of the day, goals and scoring are what matters for value in hockey cards. We're evaluating them purely from a value standpoint, and there are players that in this set that I quite like and think will be very, very valuable players. But at the end of the day, they're just not going to score a ton, so they'll kind of slide a little bit lower down. And then kind of same thing goes for goalies, where there's a little bit of a spread because, hey, if a goalie goes on a hot run during the playoff, they generally have their value increase more than any other card. But I think that's really all there is to say about this. So let's get right into the grades, and we are going to start off with the Anaheim Ducks. First up, we have Kalle Klang for the Anaheim Ducks. I gave him a C- just because I think he's going to net out as a backup goalie. In terms of Anaheim, what you're really looking forward to in the set are the Leo Carlsson, Pavel Mintyukov Young Gun canvases, as well as all of their other inserts that are going to be in Extended Series, and Tristan Lunau also has a Young Gun canvas too. Next up, we have what could be the final and best Young Gun in Arizona Coyotes history in Logan Cooley. I really like his game. I think he probably could have gone first overall in the 2022 NHL entry draft. Really dynamic offensive player, high skill, is going to put up a lot of points, and ultimately going to a new market in Utah could actually boost his sale price. I think he's going to be an NHL All-Star consistently. Just really like his game, and he gets an A+ for me. They also have one Young Gun canvas in Milos Kelebin, who nets out as a replacement level player. Next up, we have the Boston Bruins, who have Georgi Merkulov as their lone Young Gun in the set. I actually think he's going to be one of the biggest sleepers from this crop. He's put up a ton of points in the AHL the past couple of seasons, and I think he's just got a chance to really emerge as a good middle six, even top six forward, so that's why he gets a B- rating from me. Next up, we have the Buffalo Sabres, who are by far the best team in the product in terms of your Young Gun quality and in quantity. Matthew Savoie leads things off for them. He is a very talented center who has every bit of a top six potential as you could ask for. I think he's actually even got first line potential, and I mean, that's a Sabres team that's going to be loaded with forwards, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can, where he'll slot in the lineup, but there's lots of talent there. And again, I think he's got every opportunity to be a first line forward there with his skill level, so that's why he gets an A from me. Jiri Kulich is another player that I quite like. I gave him an A- just because I think he's got a little bit less potential than Savoie, but I think his floor might almost be a little bit higher just because he can play center and left wing, and his shot is generally pretty good. Moving on to Isak Rosen, who is a right wing, and he is also very talented. I give him a B+ just because I don't think he has quite the same upside as Kulich or Savoie, but I think his floor is also pretty high, and he should net out as a second line forward, so pretty solid there. And then finally, that takes us to Ryan Johnson, who is a very solid defender. I think he'll probably be a bit of a fan favorite defenseman. I don't think he's going to put up a ton of points, and he's just going to be a little bit behind in the depth chart there because their defense is actually really strong, so that's why he gets a C from me. Next up, we have the Calgary Flames, who have Martin Pospisil as their lone Young Gun. If he didn't have injury concerns or suspension concerns and Calgary was a bit of a better team, I would have given him a C+, but for those reasons, I give him a C. He is a very gritty two-way forward. He's going to chip in points. He's probably going to be loved by his fan base, but at the end of the day, there's enough health concerns and safety concerns there that I don't think he'll really be able to be anything more than that kind of really solid third line forward, so that's why he gets a C for me. The Flames do have two Young Gun canvases, one of them being Connor Zary, who is pretty solid, so worth keeping your eye on at the very least. Next up, we have the Carolina Hurricanes, who have one Young Gun in Yaniv Peretz. I think he'll ultimately end up as a backup goalie, which is why he gets a C- for me. But just as a note on goalies in general is that they can be a little bit tougher to predict. And also, if they go on a hot run during the playoffs, their value skyrockets a lot. So always worth stashing a copy or two in a binder or a box somewhere. Moving on to the Chicago Blackhawks, they have one base Young Gun in Louis Crevier. He is a 6'8" defenseman, but there's not a ton of offensive upside there, so he gets a C- from me. Obviously, Chicago is one of the most notable teams in extended because they do have Connor Bedard's Young Gun canvas alongside Kevin Korchinski and all of the plethora of Bedard inserts and rookies along the way in the product. So definitely a team you want to get. Next up, we have the Colorado Avalanche, who have two young guns in Sam Malinsky and Andre Pavel, both then out as AHL NHL tweeners, so they get D grades. Next up, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they have Adam Fantilli, who I picked as the top young gun from this set. He gets an A+ for me. He's a very skilled two-way forward, lots of flash to his game, going to put up a lot of points, going to get a lot of opportunity in Columbus. And yeah, at the end of the day, I think he's just one of the top forwards in the entire rookie crop and probably one of the best forward prospects in the past decade or so. So really talented player, probably going to be like a perennial all-star type of player and might even get a leadership role in Columbus once Boone Jenner leaves the team. Columbus also has three young gun canvases with Fantilli, Samuel Knashko, and Tyler Engel. Fantilli is obviously the one you want to pay the most attention to. Knashko is kind of going to be a depth defender, and then Engel is going to be an AHL NHL tweener. The Dallas Stars don't have any young guns or young gun canvases in extended series, neither do the Detroit Red Wings, and also the Edmonton Oilers don't have any young guns or young gun canvases in extended series. The Florida Panthers don't have any base young guns, but they do have two canvas in Justin Surduff and Uvis Balinskis. The only one I'd pay attention to is Justin Surduff. I think he's got some low-end top 6 potential, so just worth keeping an eye on. The LA Kings don't have any base young guns, but they do have Alex Laferriere in the canvas set. I do like his game, but ultimately I just don't think he's going to be a popular player. I think he can net out as a middle 6 forward though, so someone worth keeping your eye on because they do really seem to like him in LA, and there is a chance he gets bumped up a little bit. Next up, we have the Minnesota Wild, who don't have any young guns or young gun canvases in the set, but they're followed up by the Montreal Canadiens, who have two in Emil Heineman and Jaden Struble. I like Heineman's game. I think he'll probably be closer to a top 9 forward than a top 6 forward, but he gets a slight bump just to being on the Habs and their young guns tend to sell well. And then Struble is probably just going to be a solid depth defender for them, so that's why he gets a C. The Nashville Predators don't have any base young guns, but they do have Spencer Stastny in the young gun canvas set. I actually really liked his game against the Canucks in the first round of the playoffs this year, but ultimately I just don't think he's going to put up a ton of points or be really anything worth noting for a collecting standpoint. Next up, we have the New Jersey Devils, who have Simon Nemec as their lone young gun, and he is the best defenseman in the group. He gets an A- for me just because he is extremely talented. He's going to put up points. He's going to play a bunch of minutes, and the Devils are one of those teams that I think could make a bit of a push in the upcoming years if all their talent clicks together. The New York Islanders don't have any young guns or young gun canvases. The New York Islanders have two young guns in Dylan Garand and Adam Edstrom. Garand is a netminder who I gave a C+ to just because I think he has a little bit more than backup potential, but ultimately he's going to be behind Igor Shesterkin in New York, so that's not really a good spot to be if you expect him to be a really popular starter netminder, which is why his lower grade. And then Adam Edstrom is just kind of a decent bottom 6 forward, which is why he gets a C-. Next up, we have the Ottawa Senators, who have three base young guns. Roby Yarvanti is the most intriguing one. He projects kind of as a tweener between the middle 6 and top 6 for me, so I gave him a B-. Angus Crookshank, one of the best names in the entire crop, nets out as kind of a top 9, bottom 6 style forward, and then Yuri Schmeichel is a kind of replacement level player, so he gets a D. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Flyers, who don't have any base young guns, but they do have two young gun canvases, neither of which are super important players, so on to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mark Johnstone is their lone young gun, and he nets out as an AHL NHL tweener for me. He's 28 years old with not a lot of offensive upside, so that's why he gets a D grade. They do have two young gun canvases in John Ludwig and Ryan Shea. Ludwig's the one that you're going to want to pay the most attention to, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to be a player that breaks the bank by any means. Next up are the San Jose Sharks, who have one base young gun in Magnus Krona. He is a netminder who I think will net out as kind of a backup tandem goalie throughout his career. Ultimately, San Jose is not going to be very good for a while, and I think he's just going to be behind Devin Cooley in the depth chart, so I don't think his potential is super high. They also have Ty Emberson in the young gun canvas checklist, and I like his game, but overall, I just don't think he's going to sell super well. Moving on to the Seattle Kraken, they have two young guns that I really like in the set, in Ryan Winterton and Riker Evans. Winterton is a forward who's got a lot of general upside. I think he'll probably net out as a second line type forward, so he gets a B- from me. And then I really like Riker Evans' game. I just don't know how much he's going to score and how valuable he'll be as a defenseman, which is why he gets a B-. The Blues don't have any base young guns. They do have Matthew Kessel as a Young Gun canvas, but he's again a player that probably won't be super popular. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Lightning, they have no base Young Guns, but 2 Young Gun canvases. Matt Tompkins is a netminder who I don't think has a ton of upside, and then Waltteri Morella is already back playing in Europe, so no real need to worry about him either. Next up, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have Dennis Hildeby as a goalie. I think he'll probably net out as a backup style of goalie at his peak, so he gets a C+ for me. Not super confident in that, but he gets a bit of a bump just for being a Toronto Maple Leaf. And then the main player that you want to pay attention to is Fraser Minton in the Young Gun canvas set. Again, I'm not as high on him as other people, so I still think he's a sell now style of player, but he is going to be at least decently popular, being one of the top team in the league's best prospects. The Vancouver Canucks have a lone Young Gun in the set. It is Linus Karlsson, who's listed as a center on NHL.com, but he will definitely be a winger for the Canucks. Overall potential-wise, he kind of nets out as a top 9 forward. There is a chance he gets a look beside Elias Pettersson next year, as the Canucks wings are kind of up in the air for who's going to play where. And yeah, so overall there's some potential to move up, but ultimately I think he'll net out as a kind of top 9 forward for a few seasons for the Canucks. The Vegas Golden Knights don't have any Young Guns or Young Gun canvases in the set. Next up are the Washington Capitals, who have the final base Young Gun in the set in Ivan Miroshnichenko. He is a very talented forward. I think he'll probably net out as like a solid second line forward. There is a chance for him to be a little bit higher than that, but overall I think he'll net out at kind of that BB- range for me, so that's why I gave him that rating. There is definitely a lot of skill there, and he's going to get a lot of opportunity in Washington, given that they're kind of in this weird rebuilding, but also trying to just feed OV goals territory. So they also have 2 Young Gun canvases in Hardy Hamann-Achtel and Hunter Shepard. Hamann-Achtel is kind of just a replacement level defenseman, whereas Hunter Shepard will probably serve as a backup goalie for the Capitals this year. He's got some decent stats, but overall I would have liked to see Clay Stevenson here, just because I think he's a bit of a better goalie prospect. Which leaves us with the Winnipeg Jets, who have no Young Guns or Young Gun canvases. So overall, here are my final grades along with my top 10. I like Adam Fantilli as the best player, but I think you can swap him and Logan Cooley, and I wouldn't really put up too much of a fight. I think Matt Savoy, Yuri Kulich are kind of in a similar-ish tier with a slight nudge to Savoy. Simon Nemec is also a really talented defenseman. It's always tough to evaluate defensemen's hobby value because it can kind of be a little bit sporadic. Then you lead off with Isaac Rosen, Riker Evans, Ryan Winterton, Ivan Miroshnichenko, Robbie Jarventi, and Georgi Merkulov. They're all kind of very interchangeable for me. I like Riker Evans the best as a player out of all of them. I think he's probably going to have the most impactful career, but at the end of the day, he's a defenseman, and again, they just tend to sell for a little bit less. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what Young Gun you are looking forward to pulling the most from Extended Series. Tomorrow we will have a bit of a video going over just what the value will likely be for the first round picks, and then the acetate Young Guns, the retro Young Guns, and stuff like that from Extended Series as well, just because this video is already running pretty long and I want to kind of focus a little bit of different attention on those. But yeah, see you then. If you enjoyed the video, again, a like is very much appreciated, and see you tomorrow for that video and Wednesday for the release date of 2023-24 Upper Deck Extended Series.